ahead, start our recording. And hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We are the Office of Graduate Admissions. We're going to be having a conversation that spotlights the benefits of pursuing a Master of Arts in Professional Communications. So, in tonight's session, you will hear from our very own Director of Graduate Studies and Program Representative for PROCOM, Dr. Matt Regis, as well as our very own rockstar alumni from cohort number 4, Alicia Webb. My name is Flavio. I am your admissions counselor here for the College of Communications, and it's my privilege to welcome you to tonight's event. As a heads up, as you may have heard, we are recording today's session as we will be sharing this out with our registrants and any student who may be interested in learning more about the PROCOM program and all of its different offerings. So with that, I'm going to hand things over to Dr. Regis, who will share an overview of DePaul, the PROCOM program structure, and then introduce our guest speaker, which we will then transition into our little bit of a conversation podcast style here. And handing things off to Matt.
Hey, thanks very much, Flavio, and nice to see everybody that's joining us either live or, as Flavio mentioned, we're recording this session. We're actually actively recruiting right now for Procom cohort 6, which is exciting. And I was just thinking, since we have Dr. Tony Dang joining us live, that actually, I don't think Alicia necessarily knows this. The Procom logo is none other than the word mark, I should say, is none other than the handiwork of Dr. Tony Yang, who was part of the original team that came together and helped support this program. So I just wanted to give that shout out. We've gotten a lot of mileage out of it. Let's talk a little bit about DePaul at a glance. Some folks that are alums of the or students in the ProCom program did DePaul for undergrad, but others, like our featured guest speaker and alum this evening, Alicia Webb, didn't go to DePaul for undergrad. DePaul's the nation's largest Catholic university. We're the largest private university in the Midwestern U.S., over 20,000 students. 10 different colleges and schools. The ProCom program is housed in the College of Communication. We have over 200,000 alumni, more than half of which choose to stay and work and play and live in Chicagoland, in the Windy City. But we've got an alumni base that spans across the country. We've had ProCom students, while the majority come from the upper Midwest, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin. We've had students now in the East Coast, California, and down to the South. And we're very proud of very strong, I guess you could think of it as a placement rate in terms of our students then being employed or continuing their education or pursuing other goals within 6 months of graduation. And I'm really looking forward to it's a fun way to wrap today recording this conversation with Alicia because Alicia is very much an entrepreneur and a small business person, which is near and dear to me and aspects of my background and teaching. Let's talk a little bit about the ProCom degree, which is now hard to believe we're entering year 6 of this accelerated program for working professionals. As the title here says, it's a degree that very much fits your career goals and your busy life. And we're going to highlight really sort of four points, four strengths of this graduate degree and program and growing community. Alicia and I were just talking about we spend time getting together across cohorts and connecting. It's a fully online program, so there's a lot of flexibility. You don't need to commute to downtown Chicago 1 or 2 nights a week. You don't need to relocate to Chicago. All the coursework's fully online. Much of the coursework is what is known as asynchronous. So synchronous is more time bounded. So it'd be like logging on to a live Zoom session. Much of our content and coursework with Procom is asynchronous, so it gives you flexibility even when you're traveling or across time zones. It's accelerated. It was built from the ground up to be a 1 year program. Our other four graduate degrees in the College of Communication are built really for 2 years. They can be accelerated. This degree makes use of DePaul's academic calendar, and there's going to be time for Q&A. But you take classes, and I always say once you get on the Procom merry-go-round, you got to stay on it then with the cohort and the sequence of classes. And if you do that, you'll be done in 1 year. It's a cohort model, which Alicia and I will get into, and Flavio can talk about as well, which is really, I think, extra special and maybe more powerful than we even realized. That Alicia's part of cohort 5. We're recruiting for cohort 6. You take all of your classes together, so you build really strong bonds with your classmates, with your professors, and then we integrate in guest speakers and projects that involve industry professionals. And the program culminates with a final project showcase, a virtual event that always features a high profile keynote speaker. This year we have the CEO of a leading nonprofit that's a former agency head in Maxine Weiner. And then top-notch faculty mentors, and we do use the word purposely, mentors, and not just teachers, because they're teacher mentors. And very proud to say, as someone who helped kind of design this program, that we've had incredible consistency from year to year of uh, almost all of our faculty have taught every year in this program and have come back, and they have advanced training and online teaching. We do have for this new uh, cohort 6, because of my administrative responsibilities, and I've had to dial back a bit with teaching. A class that I traditionally taught is actually being taught by a senior communication leader, Pam Edwards, who was an alum of cohort 1, which is really cool because that was a goal that she had that she shared with me way back, and now I'm helping her with. We're putting together an amazing group of for her class of senior communication leaders that students will interview one-on-one for their final projects. A little bit more of a program overview, and we're going to put into the chat. A lot of information is available on DePaul.edu was recently relaunched. And so I think you're going to find it's even more visual and multimedia friendly. We're still tweaking some of the content. This is a fully online program. So in some cases, Alicia, some of her classmates, I don't think she had met in person until June and walking across stage for graduation. Same for me. But because the way this program's constructed, like I felt strong connections with every one of the cohorts, and it was extra special then to meet some folks in person. Really important deadline is the program kicks off with uh, uh, weekend, really a Friday, Saturday, and it starts with a Thursday virtual event, a residency program that I lead that's tied into one of the fall classes. So that kicks off this year in after Labor Day. So really important. We admit throughout the year, but we start and run the program only once a year. So you've still got some time right now. We're recording this April 22nd. but you do want to get moving on your materials. It's 46 credit hours, which is 2 credit hours less than some of our other programs. So we really have thought about cost, and you can see what the cost is per credit hour. And we'll talk then. Flavio and his team are really the go-to on talking through scholarships and financial aid, and I can also answer questions on that front.
Yep, great. Thank you, Matt. And I'll pick it up from there in terms of application requirements, what you need in order to get started with us. Whenever you are ready, you can head over to our website, grad.depaul.edu/apply, open up that graduate application for the College of Communications, and you'll notice that there is an application fee. Feel free to reach out to myself in our office if you want to inquire about possible fee waivers on that. Um, the application requirements are listed below, so you'll need your transcripts, an updated resume. There's a 4-question essay that needs to be answered in one single document, 2 letters of recommendation, and a writing sample. And again, as Matt mentioned, the upcoming deadline here for that fall 2026 cohort is going to be August 15th, and we can be admitting and enrolling students up until that first day of classes, which is September 10th. So, of course, we always want to give you plenty of time to plan everything out. This is a big investment that you're making in yourself and in your career. So, we always say get everything submitted at least 6 weeks before the start of the quarter so that you can plan accordingly. Just a little more information here on financing your degree, as we know that this is, if not the largest aspect and consideration that you make when you're making this decision. So as you can see, our students will typically finance their studies through a combination of loans, which are available to you through FAFSA. You may receive the unsubsidized loans there, up to $20,500 in new issuance is your limit on a yearly basis. But remember, consider that this is a 1-year program. So that would be your total limit for borrowing options. There's also scholarship opportunities. First being the automatic $6,300 CMN Graduate Award, which is automatically applied to incoming students. There's no need for you to, submit an application or anything like that. It's automatically discounted from your tuition. You can also then, after being admitted, apply to additional scholarships and awards across the college and across the university through our scholarship portal, which will, of course, be shared with you upon admission. There's additional course tuition waivers, which are available, and an application is sent out during the fall and in the spring for our currently enrolled students. So if you receive that application, you can make a case for receiving that waiver, which would cover at least the cost of one of your classes for that following quarter. So it's about a $4,000 value there. And then we have that 25% double demon discount, which is one of the greatest savings that we offer here at DePaul University, allowing you to save a total of 25% in your total tuition. Just a small caveat there that DePaul awards cannot be stacked on top of one another. That includes the CMN Grad Award and the Double Demon discount. So whatever the greatest savings is what will be applied to your account. Then, of course, we also accept any sort of external awards, scholarships, corporate benefits, or excuse me, employer benefits, tuition reimbursement, all that good stuff. For example, we have listed below IABC and PRSA Chicago members are eligible for a 25% tuition discount in this specific program. So even if you're not a Double Demon discount, you can still be a member of these professional organizations and get that large savings. These professional organizations sometimes have membership dues, ranging anywhere from $200 to $300, and it's oftentimes worth paying those dues just to get this savings on your graduate degree. And then, as I mentioned before, we accept any sort of external awards and personal contributions. So for that reason, once you're admitted, connect with our financial aid office so that you can have that conversation with them. They can provide you with loan counseling or just have conversations related to payment options to help you cover the cost of your graduate studies. And with that, I'll hand things back to Matt so that he can introduce our guest speaker, and we'll get started in that portion of our session today.
Hey, thanks very much, Flavio. And we're gonna have some dedicated time at the end for Q&A. It is
Yes.
my distinct pleasure to introduce our featured uh, phenomenal alum of our Masters in Procom program, specifically cohort 4. And I think we're calling this like it's almost like Alicia Webb and DePaul week because at the time that we're recording this, Alicia just graciously did a Voices of Communication webinar session highlighting some of her thought leadership and work last night.
Correct.
She's doing this kind of podcast style conversation for Procom, and then I saw Alicia, it's also IU Day today. So,
Yes.
yeah. So,
Just I'm committed
uh,
to all my universities today, yesterday and today this week. I'm just giving everybody what I have.
Alicia is a alum of Indiana University,
Uh-huh.
Bloomington, which has a fantastic J school journalism and comm school, and it was a really proud moment for me in the last year when you got to go back there and actually guest lecture and guest present, and um, and you shared some of your final project work. Let me
Mhm.
tell you a little bit about Alicia. Alicia is the founder and CEO of Dress Code Diva. She is the founder and principal of Bright Spot Public Relations. So, as I mentioned, near and dear to me, she is a small business person and an entrepreneur, and quite an impressive roster of clients her agency has. And she's also launched I guess in the past year, and I look forward to getting it in my inbox. She has a Substack, the Bright Perspective, and we're going to talk some about what it's been like getting into the world of Substack. And prior to her starting her own consultancy, she's got several decades now of accumulated experience and expertise, also working in-house, including time spent at a big Chicago name in Baxter Healthcare. And she offers her fractional communication services, as I mentioned, to a range of clients. What's going on, Alicia?
Oh my God, it's so good to see you.
Hey,
Thank you for having me. This is so much fun to come. It's not even been a full year since I finished, so
I
it's a lot of fun to come back.
I was like, when we were thinking about putting these together, selfishly, I'm like, you know what? It would be we will learn a lot, about your experience with grad school and the ProCom program, but selfishly, I always look forward to catching up with you and
Absolutely.
and seeing you. So let's jump right in. Your final project is fascinating. I think it touched a lot of buttons and hit a lot of nerves in a good way. I think and cuts across different generations. Tell us a little bit about this evolution of your consultancy and the focus of your Substack.
Sure. So my consultancy, like you said, I do PR and communications for companies large and small. I do a lot in healthcare. I do a lot in higher education. I do a lot in manufacturing. So really helping companies kind of tell their story and, ghostwriting and helping them with, press releases and all the things that go with being a good PR person. The evolution into Substack really started because of Procom. I can't even lie. Like a lot of it started because of the ability because ProCom was so you had this autonomy, like you could just explore anything. And I think that's one of the benefits of this program. So last fall, no, actually in fall 24, forgive me,
Hmm.
um, our first assignment was, very open and it was to write about a trend in business and what you were kind of noticing. And at that point, a lot of people were writing about DEI and everything that was kind of going on in our world with how employers were responding to some of the things that were happening in the political landscape at that point. And I wanted to explore something different. So I wrote my piece about how casual the workplace has become and how companies need to treat it. And you loved it. And Ron Culp also loved it. And Ron was like, "Can I post this?" And I said, "Absolutely." And I had no idea so many people had opinions about dress codes in the workplace and how casual it would become. And I sat on it for a few months because I was still getting my footing around the program. And then at the beginning of 2025, I turned it into a Substack about every topic around dress code and how you present. And then it ultimately became my final project. So it morphed. It came out of basically one assignment, and I saw how many people had opinions on it. I didn't think everyone had a thought about it because people are showing up in sweats and I thought everyone was okay. But then I talked to you and I talked to Ron and actually Carol Marine, I talked to so many people within the DePaul community about it. And they're like, "This is interesting. You can kind of take this and run with it." So I really ran with it for the year of the program and then turned it into my final project and have since kind of built on it and turned it into kind of a separate arm of my consultancy and helping people with how to present the best version of themselves, helping young people. Like you said, I gave a guest lecture at IU about the topic, and honestly young people want to know more about it too, about personal brand and how to show up, because coming out of COVID, a lot of it just got lost. So I did a ton of research about it, and it's been fascinating to hear people talk about this and share opinions, because I thought I was alone in it, but apparently I'm not. So I felt very validated
You were not, you were, yeah, you were definitely not
when
alone.
people were like, "This is a fascinating topic that you're talking about with, how are people showing up?" Like just for an example, one of my Substacks a few weeks ago that got by far the most attention was the one about pajama pants. And why are we showing up everywhere in our pajama pants, whether it's the airport or the grocery store? And I got so much feedback about it. So it's been really interesting to just kind of dive in deep into this topic,
It,
um,
it's
about style and personal dress codes. Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
funny when and I will occasionally email you when I will see something in the news or I will experience something that it relates to attire
Right.
in the workplace and sometimes out of it, and I'm like, oh, I gotta drop Alicia a note. We gotta talk about, yeah.
And
It's those
I
little
was, we
things.
do, and we talk about it, and it's so funny that so many people have feelings about it. And then I turned it into my project about how you show up, how you're presenting, you really are communicating. So it did circle back to communications, and it was more about
Mhm.
non-verbally, you are saying something about yourself, depending on how you show up. Like I told you some of these horror stories, and you had stories of your own, of people showing up to interviews with their hoodies on, with the hood up, and people taking Zoom calls from their bed. And I'm like, you're saying something. You think you're not saying anything, but you really are saying something. So it really, the beautiful part of PROCOM, you were able to explore kind of whatever you wanted to.
Mhm.
And I explored just like, you really are saying something about yourself with these small things that you don't even think about.
I'm
And
reminded of a classic adage in communication circles of you cannot not communicate. So,
mhm.
and so much of communication, as we know, is not necessarily just what you say, but how you say it or how you present yourself. It's all those nonverbal
It
uh,
really is,
cues.
and it's gotten lost. So it's been fun to dig up and see what I can, what's out there about the topic and how many people have been like, "Yeah, I'll talk to you. I'm happy to be interviewed." Whether
And
it's someone like Iran or, different industry leaders. It's really been fascinating.
So let's talk about Procom, and you've teased some of the flexibility in terms of yeah, that was the future Procom class, that early assignment. What sparked your interest, Alicia, in deciding to go back to grad school? And I always say, like,
Mhm.
grad school is like about investing in yourself. It's making that decision to invest in yourself. Take us back to that decision.
So it was always in the back of my head to go back. And I always tell people I really thought at some point I was going to go to law school. Like you said, my undergrad is from IU. I studied journalism and political science, which is always usually a mix for a lot of people that end up going on to get law degrees. So I thought I was going to do that, but I got a news job right after graduation. So, and the news is I love news. I love current events. So once I got into news, I was like, okay, maybe I'm not going to do the law school thing. But then it just stayed in the back of my head, even though as my career evolved and I got into different PR roles, you mentioned Baxter, I worked in some manufacturing companies. I had a stint in the supply chain space. So I've moved around across a lot of verticals, and it never left the back of my head to go back and get a master's degree. So it was always something I knew I wanted to do. I just wasn't sure about timing and the program. And there's so many things on LinkedIn and other platforms that say, well, after so many years, it's not worth the investment. Or, if your career's in a good place, you really don't need that extra degree, and it's not worth, you don't, why do the financial, why take the financial hit if you don't have to. But for me, it was something I always promised myself I would do. I thought I would eventually maybe move into teaching, and if not that, move into another leadership role. And it was just something that I knew I wanted to do. So I bet on myself, and early in 2024, started poking around, doing some research, and that's when I found Procom. And I was like, oh, this is a year I can do this. It's going to be a big commitment, and I acknowledge that, but I'm like, I want to try this. I did some research, and I really wanted a program that was going to be a year. I said 2 years is going to be a little bit more of a challenge because I already have work and other life commitments. But I'm like, a year I can handle, even if it is an accelerated program. But for me, it was just like, I just said this to myself. I've been a lifelong learner. I love school. That's why love doing stuff like this. I love going back to IU because that never left me. So it was a commitment that I just said I would always honor. I just happened to come when I was, 20 years out of undergrad, but it's not too late. And I hope that I hope that resonates. It's not too late if you want to pursue this, to go and do it. Like, I think it was Ginger Z, who was a meteorologist on ABC on Good Morning America. I think her mom went back to become a doctor, like in her 70s. I hope
Wow.
it's something like that. So people, if there's something that you want to pursue, I'm all for it. I mean, it's about you. If it's something that you think
Mm.
you want to do and it's going to be for the betterment of your career or something personally, I'm all for it. I think, and that's the beautiful part of Procom specifically, is that it's built around your life. It's not, if you have a full-time job, like I'm thinking about Kathleen, who was in our program, who had a pretty strict schedule working, at that point, I think it was T-Mobile. She had a very strict schedule. She had work hours, but she still was able to get work done. So even if you have a regular corporate 9 to 5, you can make this work.
Mhm.
So Alicia's referencing a cohort mate, a classmate from cohort 4 who is in Southern Oregon. So she's in the Pacific Northwest. And so, like I said, while many of us are in the Central Time Zone, she's very much Pacific time. And hey, we were just messaging literally, I think I traded emails with her this morning.
Oh my gosh,
Um,
her ears must be burning.
yeah, she's visiting. So she was US Cellular, and they were going
That's
through,
what it was, and they became T-Mobile.
yeah, a
Yes,
multi-year merger at T-Mobile, and T-Mobile is now, there's talk of Deutsche Telekom
yes,
fully combining. They already own a
yes.
big stake in T-Mobile, and she's visiting. She's a remote worker, remote runs a distributed team, and she's actually preparing for another visit to the headquarters in Bellevue in Washington
Yeah.
State. So
But I brought her up because she's a perfect example of someone who had really big responsibilities. I mean, she had a team of people she was managing, and she still, I mean, and did amazing work. So
Mhm.
it's really possible to complete a program like this while you are doing I think she was like director
Yeah.
level communications job. It's not impossible. And I think people will tell you it's too hard to do if you've got X title or this role. It can be done. And for me, I mean, you know, work for myself. So I had flexibility there, but everyone else in the program had a full-time job and really was able to make it work and you know, complete the program effectively.
Well, you know what? One thing that's been a consistent thread, and I think Flavio has seen this too, is each cohort has been a really interesting mix of more seasoned professionals like yourself and Kathleen, and then some folks that are at earlier stages of your career and might be even, it's kind of been intergenerational as
Yes.
well, which ends up being really valuable. I think, Alicia,
Yes.
it's fair to say with the class, like the discussion boards and the assignments and their uh, perspectives. I don't know if you want to talk about
Well, I
that.
would agree with that. And I think like I think about Jordan, who was very young in her career and working in an agency. And I think she was looking to kind of figure out what she wanted to do long term. But she brought me such great perspective, even on some of the topics that I was exploring because she was so young. So she really made me stop and think because the workforce has changed, how communications has evolved. Having someone young like that helped me because that was a part of the reason too that I came back is that um, communications has evolved so much. Like I tell people, when I graduated from undergrad, Facebook was in its infancy, and now it's like not cool anymore. So there's been so many changes in PR and social media in this landscape. So that's a big part of the reason why I did this. But having younger people in the program helped me. I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting. Because someone like Jordan, who I'm thinking of, she only knew social media. Social
Right.
media was different for me in my career because when I was starting off as a reporter, news operations just had websites. They didn't have anything else. There was no social media pages. So having that lens helped. And then I think about one of my cohort mates, Angela, who was like in this kind of HR space, and she came into this program because she knew she wanted a master's and it was something new for her. So that was the beautiful part of it. There was diverse backgrounds, diverse skill sets within the cohort itself because you didn't have to necessarily have a journalism or comms undergrad to
Hmm.
come into this. You know, you might want to upskill and move into a different role within your company and this kind of this market that we're experiencing right now job wise it's kind of crazy, so this is a good time to learn something new and explore new opportunities because we don't know what the next few years are going to look like in terms of what's happening with AI and so much going on in the environment. um that's the other good thing about it. So that was the beautiful thing. It doesn't mean that just you have to have studied communications. You could have an operations or a supply, you can have any background. I think we all benefit from being better communicators. And that was the beautiful part of this program. Because there was classes about, research and working in teams and so many things that are going to be effective regardless of what your career path might look like.
Exactly.
That's the good thing about this.
You mentioned your cohort mate, Alicia, who has more of a healthcare kind of administrator uh,
Mhm.
and HR background. And, it's the cohorts have been enriched also by, we've had students with more of a legal and legal studies background working in corporate. So it's kind of like adjacent to, communications, and it's really
Yes.
valuable having those perspectives. I was thinking, Alicia, as you were saying that, I think you and I come from a similar, I'm going to say, similar era. And last night I just got done teaching an in-person grad class, and some of those younger folks, we talked about Spotify, and I said, "Oh, I'm still Team Pandora," which is a dead giveaway, Flavio, of that we tend to be a different era. And I said then, Alicia, man, y'all really missed out. I come from the Napster era.
Yes, it's just the small things, but that's what the beautiful part of this was, is like there's so many generations now doing, in the
Yeah.
workforce. Same thing like this. You get to hear everyone's perspective, and it did create for some really lively conversations when we talked about some of these
Oh,
topics. It's
I,
just it's so interesting. Like when we there you mentioned law, there was a law class, and we talked about cryptocurrency and all like that didn't exist. Like I didn't, and I still have a hard time getting my arms around that. But the generational piece is
I,
it's really, really interesting.
I don't want to deviate too much, but Dr. Dang has joined us, and I've had a conversation with him and some colleagues about prediction markets. And I
Yes.
don't know, Alicia, if you're following. I Alicia, folks, is a poli sci undergrad. She's a big political news junkie like me. So I don't know if you're following Kalshi or Poly Market.
All the time. And I'm
Okay.
fascinated by it.
So at the time of this recording, so Kalshi, so I have a small Kalshi account. Um, and it's not a surprise that Dems are expected to retake the House, but this past week is when the prediction crossed, where now it's tied, or even that the Dems might take control also of the
Oh,
Senate.
the Senate, yeah.
So it's interesting. And in the future ProCom class, which I can't wait to teach again in the fall, I'll certainly be
Well,
talking
you'd be
about
closer to it. And
the
that's the kind of
prediction market. I'll be really close to that.
that's the beautiful part of this class is that so much of it is tied into current of them and out of this class of this program. A lot of this is tied to current events. It
Very
really being in
much.
ProCom, it keeps you on your toes. And that's part of, I mean, and I know you'll talk about this when the classes start. You really do need to keep on top of what's going on around you. And that's what I loved about it. Like when we had those weekly our discussions online, albeit, but we were watching what was happening. And I think at one point, this might have been fall 24, Amazon and other companies were, mandating people come back to work in the office. So there was just so much
Mhm.
happening. And it's going to be happening again, this fall when the new cohort comes on. But that's what I loved about it. It was invigorating to, apply real time what we were learning. And I think my cohort mates would agree that with that, what we were experiencing in ProCom, we were able to take back immediately. Like you didn't have to wait. There was things that we were working on that were applicable to our day to day, work responsibilities.
It's been, I just say as an aside, teaching that future professional communication class that Alicia and I are talking about, I've even gotten to see the evolution of AI. Like I remember a
Yes,
final project was on the launch of ChatGPT because that was the fall class.
yes.
So it was very new to many of us. And now you fast forward a couple years and it's like I've seen a trend, agentic AI. And so we're seeing sort of
It's
evolution that
fast.
applies
And
to
I and
prompts.
that's what again, that's another one of the benefits of this is like things are happening quickly,
Yeah.
but ProCom helps you like prepare you for that because things are happening so fast in this space. But the ProCom it brings you along. You're not, you're going to know what's happening. You're not going to be behind. And I know sometimes in higher ed that's a struggle, but with this, like you really you're living it real time. So you're not you're learning it as it's going on. You're not
Well,
having to wait.
to that point, another one of our professors that's been with us since the beginning is Professor Amy Merrick, who's
Yeah, she's amazing.
comes out of journalism and was a Wall Street Journal business reporter. She just gave a faculty talk webinar that is really focused on writing and thinking with Gen AI and sort of some evolving best practices. And so yeah, it's we definitely have faculty on board with this program who continue to evolve and adapt their curriculum and their content. Let's talk a little bit, Alicia, about some folks may be wondering about like what does it mean to attend, and participate in an online program? Like what is the format of the classes and the coursework? Like what does that look like? And how did you work
Sure.
that into you have a busy day. You have
I
a lot going on.
do. So I think the beautiful part of it was that work for the most part would drop Monday morning sometime, and then you would have until Sunday at midnight to complete whatever it was, whether it was reading or some type of paper or an assignment. Um, and it was on you to really kind of finish everything. But the good thing was you can organize it and do the work at your own pace. So if you had time, a break in your day on Tuesday from 2 to 4, you could squeeze in the reading and do what you needed to do. Um, or if it was writing, one of the papers or something like that, I always did something every single day. So I made a commitment to myself that I was going to do something every day, even if it was only an hour at a time. I'm not someone who stays up very late, so I didn't work past 10 p.m. So if I would work from some evenings from 8 to 10, or I'd find a break in the day and do something. But the flexibility was amazing, because it was just really about you and how you could do it. Angela, who I mentioned, she had a family and was doing this. Other people like me, I don't have kids, but I found ways to accomplish it and get the work done. So you really have to be responsible and take ownership of how it works for you. But that's a good thing, right? It's not, class like undergrad. It's not a situation where a class meets at Monday at 10 a.m. and you have to be there. You can log in and do it whenever you want to. And most professors were very, very good about letting you know when a big assignment was due, when a midterm was due, so that you could plan so that you weren't completing that midterm assignment at the last minute. So you get everything you need up front. You just have to be planful. And I mean, I think that's if you're organized and planful, this program will be a breeze for you. You just have to stay on top of things. And I tell people who ask about this, don't wait until Saturday at 1 o'clock to start working, because you will be sorry. And for me, I also said to myself, I wanted to preserve my weekends the best that I could. I couldn't preserve every single weekend the whole year, but weekends like in September when it's nice outside, you want to still do things, work as much as you can during the week so that if there's something Saturday afternoon you want to go and do, you can do that and then still work on Sunday to get things done. But that was the beautiful part for me, is that I owned my time and my schedule, and I was able to get things done at my own pace. You didn't feel like you were, someone was beating you or who was getting done first. You paced yourself. You were able to be, who you are. You have a different work style from someone else. That's fine. But I also loved that program had group projects, because it was a way to get to know my cohort members, depending on the class. You mentioned Amy. Amy's class had group projects. So I liked that too, because then you really felt like this is what it's going to be like when you go back and take it to work, to your job, how it's going to feel to collaborate with people. So there were so many opportunities to work independently, but there was also room to kind of work and talk with your cohort members about things that were going on. So it was just, I can't say enough good things about the flexibility. That's what I think I enjoyed most, was that if I, like tonight, for example, we'll be done here at, 6:30 or thereabouts. I could have gone and worked from 6:30 until whenever on a night like this. So just you make it work for yourself. And I love that.
It's so interesting that, talking with students, it takes them sometimes a little while to find their rhythm of kind of,
Yes.
integrating grad school, in this case the PROCOM program, into their work and their life. And some of them, do early mornings, some find evenings after the kid and the partners to bed. Some do more of the work heavy on the weekends. Some try to protect their weekends. It's really interesting to see how people make it work, and also getting the feedback of, we're in this world of distributed teams in many cases, and
Hmm.
collaboration. Some of that happens in person, a lot of it happens through virtual tools and collaboration, and you really get to flex those muscles, um, in this program. I think it's fair to say what you're describing, Alicia.
It's great. I mean, you really find the pattern that works for you, and it does take time. And I'm not going to tell anyone you get right back into it, especially if you're me and you waited for a long time to return to get to a master's, like it doesn't just click immediately. You have to reset what it's like to read pages and pages of, of literature that you hadn't read like that in a long time. So you give yourself grace to get used to it again. But once you find your rhythm, it's found. And that's the great part of it. And then the other thing is it's a year, so it goes fast. I think everyone who enrolls will quickly realize it will go quickly. I mean, you're going to look up and it's going to be time to march across the stage. So 1 year is going to feel fast.
I'm gonna it really flies, and it's like I said, to think that we're already up now to cohort 6, and we've got this
It's amazing.
growing community. One thing that we do that we couldn't do the first year is in that virtual residency and orientation class. I actually kind of curate and pair you an incoming student with an alum, and kind souls that are alums that are fantastic, like Alicia, have agreed to be mentors. And so that's really nice too, that there's this spirit of paying it forward and helping share that first assignment is tips and lessons learned. You, as a new student, will interview a alum and they will share kind of their tips and advice and lessons learned. And it's a way to start building community with Alicia knows is really big for us in ProCom. We've got about 10 minutes left, and Alicia and I are both pretty punctual people. Uh, and I want to really open it up for questions from Flavio. Feel free to jump in, my friend, with some kind of use this remaining time.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you, Alicia, for your time again.
Thank
Great
you.
conversation. Um, I know that you touched on a lot of great points here that are very helpful, but is there anything that perhaps uh, we should be asking you, some helpful advice that you have that you haven't shared yet as it relates to DePaul, Procom, grad school in general? I guess any sort of closing thoughts that you might have for us that
So
haven't been
for me, it was
asked.
one of the smartest things that I think I could have ever done for myself was to, go down this road and get a master's degree. I'm really happy I made the decision. And I just, I tell people, bet on yourself. I mean, just take that risk. If it's something that you feel like you wanted to do, I say go for it. This is 1 year, and you can do anything for a year, and you don't know what it might open up for you. Like I found another essentially a passion, a new project, something else I want to focus on, thanks to this that I didn't even know, I existed and I can turn into something. So you don't know what you might discover in doing something like this and taking on, a program to get your master's degree. So I am all for this. I say to anybody who's, not sure, go for it because, and the DePaul community is amazing. The access you will get from doing this, from getting a master's degree, opens you up to so many people, meeting people. Matt mentioned a program with a talk Amy gave last week. I participated in that. So just the access you'll get to meeting other people within the DePaul community is remarkable. I mean, it's worth every time, all the money, everything.
It uh I'm just so grateful, Alicia, that you chose DePaul and Procom, and that we get to share you now between IU uh, and
I love both. I
in
love
DePaul,
both.
and you love both. And I've had great experiences with IU, and obviously the alumni network is wonderful in Chicago. And we're of a generation where you probably took classes in the Ernie when it was the Ernie Pyle.
Yes, I
Building.
did. It's
I've
it's
been
not
there.
Ernie Pyle Hall is now the admissions office, but
Uh,
yes, it was the School of Journalism. It's a different. It's in the media school now. They've changed
yeah,
it, but yes, it was the School of Journalism when I was there. Very different, but the industry was different. So I understand and respect they had to evolve.
Yeah, and we've got a comment in the chat I just want to call out from Dr. Dang. He said, just met a professional today and he mentors a lot of students. He said it's a great way to get clients for his advertising business because those students moved on to become execs and he didn't even need an introduction to connect. So, yeah, it's never 6 degrees, it's always 2 or 3 degrees of
It
separate.
is. It's a very small world. And you never know who you might meet in doing something this because this has opened up an entire new community for me. And I grew up in the Chicago area, but this has opened up things for me even more in a way I never would have anticipated.
I've been uh I don't know if you've heard this yet from me, Alicia, but when we say R&R in academia, a lot of times we mean revise and resubmit. We're talking about research and scholarship. And I always say I'd like folks to think that R&R also means reputation and relationships. And
I love that.
that's the
Hmm.
currency, that is the currency of our business and also of our careers. And I would tell everyone if you make the decision to invest in yourself, like Elisa's encouraging you to do, that if you choose Procom, you're going to sharpen your you're going to
Absolutely.
position yourself well in terms of that R&R of reputation. And
And DePaul has a really, and that's part of the reason why I selected DePaul, has a great reputation in the college in the communication space.
Hmm.
I think you'll be surprised, not maybe not surprised is the right word, but I think you'll be pleased with what opens up and what people have to say about DePaul. The caliber of the people that have come out of the university is really remarkable.
it's always
Certainly.
I think the grad students, whether they're choosing journalism or Prad or Procom. I just had a student presenting last week, Tony, on a crisis at Kimberly Clark at a warehouse, an arson actually,
Oh yes, I
in
saw that.
California. That was another kind of, I would say, operationalization of Luigi and sort of violence and anger. And
Mhm.
that student had no way of knowing that one of my alums from back in the day is a senior corporate affairs manager at Kimberly Clark. And so
What a small
afterwards,
world.
and she's been there for like 5 or 6 years now. So I connected then the student Delilah with
Mhm.
with my alum because we do have a strong network and strong relationships here in the college, and we also, I think, students learn we stay connected.
Yes.
I know where my alums are in many cases, and they have good feelings towards us. And those two, that alum and that student, are now going to connect. Uh,
Yeah.
and and she said, "Hey, I wish it was under a different circumstance." And I said, "Oh no, her analysis was quite favorable, actually, of how Kimberly Clark responded in this case." So
That's a
Wow.
great story.
it's funny. Any other? We've got time maybe for if we have another question or comment. Otherwise, I think Flavio, we can wrap. And I see you're sharing. Those books look familiar that are floating up there.
Oh, the business acumen one. There's our U professors using that. I love it.
I oh yeah, that
I
I
think Dave Group, is it Dave that's
Dave,
using
yeah,
it?
Dave actually
Yeah.
interviewed me a couple times for his class,
Wow.
and we just picked up UNC Chapel Hill actually. So
Congratulations.
Rod Neptune, and ironically, it's funny when you're an author. I literally just got the royalty email from my publisher of three of those books, Emerald, today. So
Congratulations.
I'm not retiring off of those, but it's a nice ongoing. It's interesting to see kind of the continued adoption and usage.
Good for you. That's great.
Hey,
That's awesome.
Flavio, any final thoughts?
Uh,
Announcement?
Yeah, I don't see anything coming through in the chat, so I think we can wrap things up with those parting thoughts. Matt and Alicia, again, thank you both so much. Thank you, Tony, for joining us, and Stanley as well, and everyone who will be watching this virtually. You can feel free to follow up with us with any other thoughts that you might have. Again, my contact information is listed here for the Office of Graduate Admissions, as well as Matt's information is listed there. If you have any thoughts or questions, please feel free to follow up. And Alicia, I look forward to hopefully meeting you in person sometime
Absolutely.
soon.
Thank
And
you so much for having me. This was so much fun. Thank you very much.
thank you for coming
Alicia,
in.
I want to point out to everybody that we also put Alicia's website and direct
Yes,
link to her
please.
Substack. Um, it's gonna appear with the recording in the transcript here. So please sign up, and I promise you'll have fun. I
It
look
is
forward
fun.
to. I think of like I'm like, oh, is there what story do we have? Because
It'll be a fun one. I've got one next week. It'll be fun.
Alicia's a heck of a storyteller with
Well,
journalism
thank you.
reading, so I
Thank
always
you.
enjoy reading.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for spending time
Thank you.
out with us and being so open and supportive. And folks that are watching this, we look forward to connecting with you. Don't be a stranger. Please reach out.
Please feel free to reach out to me as well. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.